One of the most influential groups in hip-hop history is 2 Live Crew. Like NWA, 2 Live Crew faced many challenges in the music industry. Their music was banned. Their music was protested against. They were even arrested for performing.
Last night and sang lyrics ruled obscene by a federal judge just 4 days earlier. Authorities then kept their word and arrested 2 members of the group as they pulled away in their limousine. They are charged with violating Florida's obscenity law and face up to a year in jail if they're convicted.
Why 2 Live Crew? Because there was nothing like them at this time. And America, quite frankly, was a bit scared. Songs like Me So Horny and Pop That P didn't sit well with a lot of small town American folks. I can't let my daughter listen to this. She may grow up to be one of those girls in that video. I can't let my son listen to this. He might grow up and see women as a piece of meat. The fact is, many young kids were bumping 2 Live Crew. Me included. I was young at the time, so I didn't quite understand all of the innuendos they were spitting, but I did know that I wasn't supposed to be listening to it. And that was what made me want to listen more. Like Too Short, like NWA, I gravitated towards 2 Live Crew's music. Mainly because of all the F words and the foul language. I didn't understand at that time that I was listening to a group that was changing the landscape of hip-hop. A group that was putting their own freedom on the line for their passion for music. They were considerably controversial in the US due to the explicit content in their songs, particularly on their album, Nasty As They Wanna Be. I was 11 when that came out, and at that time, I could recite every single word from every song.
Yeah, Me So Horny, I wrote that record. The shows were so fun, I used to look forward to going to do them because it gave me a sense of, I don't know, I guess a sense of happiness from being around like what Luke and all of his people had going on. Doing the shows were like more of a way of an escape for me. I used to love it. I used to love doing the shows, man. The shows were awesome. The shows were awesome. I mean, that was some of the great times I ever had in my life. Those were highlights just by being on the stage and performing those songs at that time when they were very, very popular.
Uncle Luke, a.k.a. Luke Skywalker, Fresh Kid Ice, Mr. Mix, and Brother Marquise. Contrary to popular belief, 2 Live Crew's roots didn't start in Miami, Florida. Their roots started in Southern California, right where I'm sitting right now. In 1989, while stationed at March Air Force Base near Riverside, California, Mr. Mix met fellow musicians and United States Air Force Airmen Amazing V and Fresh Kid Ice. The trio, with Mix as DJ and Fresh Kid Ice and Amazing V as rappers, went on to form 2 Live Crew and would perform in small venues near the base, eventually releasing the group's first singles, The Revelation and 2 Live Beatbox, on their own independent label, Fresh Beat Records. The singles became popular in Florida, so much so that following their discharge from the U.S. Air Force, Mr. Mix and Fresh Kid Ice eventually relocated to Miami at the behest of local concert promoter Luther Campbell, a.k.a. Uncle Luke, who helped cultivate the momentum the group was establishing in the area. Amazing V left the group shortly after and was replaced by Brother Marquise, and the rest, as they say, is history. I bet a lot of y'all thought 2 Live Crew got their start in Florida. Nope. Right here in Southern California, baby. Now, we can't go on without showing love to Brother Marquise, who recently passed away at the young age of 58. Very sad day. Thank you, Brother Marquise, for your huge contribution to hip-hop. You made an impact on the world. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Now let's have a moment of silence for Brother Marquise. R.I.P. Mr. Mix was credited as being one of the fathers of the Miami bass sound. In 1986, the group released the single Throw the D. It is now considered the blueprint of Miami bass. How funny, huh? And interesting that the sound of Miami bass was actually founded in Southern California. West Coast hip-hop roots run deep, and our story will be heard. Eventually. Slowly but surely, the world will see the impact the West Coast had on early hip-hop. Dare I say, hip-hop started in the West? There's a good argument for that. And it makes a lot of sense to me. We were popping and locking in the late 60s. We were rapping and capping in the late 60s. Just saying, do a little research before you accept the fact, and I put fact in quotes, that hip-hop started on the East Coast. Anyway, let's keep moving. Luke ends up giving the 2 Live Crew a record deal, and he worked as the group's manager. He also joined the group as its hype man and spokesperson in their subsequent controversies. And boy, did they have many.
Latest chapter in a growing national debate over where in a democratic society art ends and obscenity begins, and who should decide. Doug Tennell reports.
The Florida furor that has engulfed 29-year-old rap musician Luther Campbell and his group 2 Live Crew today spread to communities across the country. The group's album, As Nasty as They Wanna Be, was ordered off record store shelves by police in San Antonio today. In Huntsville, Alabama, where the group is to perform this weekend, the city council tightened its obscenity laws last night. The group may face arrest, officials in Huntsville say, if the group's performance includes material ruled obscene by a federal judge in South Florida. Luther Campbell says his group would clean up its act for the Huntsville performance if the audience included teens under 18, but not if it is restricted to adults only.
You don't tell us what we can do and say around adults. The adult has the right to listen to what they want to listen to. If they don't want to hear the 2 Live Crew, then they don't buy no ticket. They won't be at that concert.
The same Cincinnati sheriff that cracked down on the Maplethorpe exhibition has also ordered 2 Live Crew's album off record store shelves. The reason? Sexually explicit lyric.
That's for an adult audience. And that's who we want it for. The adults, 18 years and older.
The federal judge's ruling dismissed Campbell's claim that his music is both artistic and cultural expression. The band album, which had been suffering from declining sales, has been climbing up record charts across the country since the judge's ruling last week.
Keep in mind, this is the 1980s. It's not like today where it's normal for people like Sexy Red to tell you her pussy hole is pink and her booty hole is brown. These types of lyrics were not the norm. And the Bible Belt of America was not digging this group of black men who had half-naked black women with big old booties on the front of their album cover. In fact, everything started when a record store exec in Alexander City, Alabama was cited for selling a copy of 2 Live Crew's Move Something album to an undercover police officer in 1988. It was the first time in the United States that a record store owner was held liable for obscenity over music.
A Florida jury says the rap group 2 Live Crew can't be as nasty as they want to be if they want their records sold in stores. In what's being called a landmark case, the jury convicted a record store owner on obscenity charges for selling a 2 Live Crew album, an album banned by a federal judge because of its lyrics. Charles Freeman was arrested in June for selling the album As Nasty as They Want to Be. He insists his arrest violates the First Amendment right of freedom of speech and says his conviction is racially motivated.
It doesn't reflect my community as a black man in Broward County. It's unfair. The jury was all white. There were no blacks on the jury pool at all, only one. And they don't know where EC Records is. They don't know nothing about the damn Get Over.
The leader of 2 Live Crew also faces trial in Florida. He's charged with performing obscene material. Freeman's lawyers say there will be an appeal.
Jury in Florida has convicted a record store owner for selling a sexually explicit album by the rap group 2 Live Crew. The Fort Lauderdale jury agreed with prosecutors who charged the record store owner with obscenity. Charles Freeman, seen here, could spend a year in jail and pay a $1,000 fine. Sentencing has been set for November 2nd.
2 Live Crew band member Luther Campbell says he knew Charles Freeman was going to be found guilty. The Florida record store owner was convicted of obscenity on Wednesday for selling a 2 Live Crew album after a federal judge in Florida had ruled it obscene. Freeman says he was found guilty because the all-white jury couldn't understand the music. Campbell agrees.
When I first saw how the jury was and what jury they picked it and how they picked the jury, I automatically said that this guy's going to get railroaded. You know, and I wasn't surprised at all. I had said, you know, earlier that day when they told me how they picked the jury and there was no blacks on the jury, there was no blacks in the jury pool, you know, I say, hey, he's dead.
Freeman could get up to a year in jail and a $1,000 fine.
Their shows were getting shut down midway through due to some acts that were going on stage. You know, acts you see in certain movies that are rated X. Yeah, that was going on stage while they were performing. BJs, all of that. That would have been fine. Except for the fact that oftentimes there were people under the age of 18 at some of these venues. Yeah, not good.
Hi, what's your opinion about 2 Live Crew?
They're cool.
Yeah?
Censorship sucks.
Well, that's one way of putting it.
I feel under the First Amendment they have every right to say what they say, when they want to say it, and how they want to say it.
Okay, let me ask you a question now. What about the other side of the coin, the responsibility to the kids?
The responsibility of the kids is up to their parents. Let their parents decide what they will and will not buy. God did not put us on this earth to have other people throw down opinions on other people's art.
Their third album, Nasty As They Wanna Be, just blew up. To the moon! It was led by their most famous song to date, Me So Horny. Bro, I was 11 years old singing Me So Horny. I had no idea what horny meant, but I was bumping it. The song Me So Horny used a sample from the classic Vietnam War movie Full Metal Jacket.
Well, baby, me so horny. Me love you long time.
Very clever. Back then, they did have parental advisory stickers. Stickers warning parents that this is explicit content, so purchase with caution. I do believe NWA were the first to receive such sticker. Not too long before this, actually. I think Guns N' Roses was also one of the first bands to receive this sticker, but don't quote me on that. The American Family Association did not think the presence of a parental advisory sticker was enough to adequately warn listeners of what was inside the case. In 1990, action was taken at the local level, and Nick Navarro, Broward County Sheriff, received a ruling that probable cause for obscenity violations existed. The Broward County Sheriff warned record store owners that selling the album might be prosecutable. 2 Live Crew then filed a suit against Navarro. That June, U.S. District Court Judge Jose Gonzalez ruled the album obscene and illegal to sell. 2 days later, a local retailer was arrested after selling a copy to an undercover police officer.
Jury in Florida has convicted a record store owner for selling a sexually explicit album by the rap group 2 Live Crew. The Fort Lauderdale jury agreed with prosecutors who charged the record store owner with obscenity. Charles Freeman, seen here, could spend a year in jail and pay a $1,000 fine. Sentencing has been set for November 2nd. The album had been banned by a federal judge. Its lyrics include graphic descriptions of sex and sodomy.
This was followed by the arrest of 3 members of 2 Live Crew after they performed at Club Futura in Hollywood, Florida.
Last night and sang lyrics ruled obscene by a federal judge just 4 days earlier. Authorities then kept their word and arrested 2 members of the group as they pulled away in their limousine. They are charged with violating Florida's obscenity law and face up to a year in jail if they're convicted.
The controversy only made the album more popular. Eventually, it sold over 2 million copies.
The irony of all this is that since the controversy surrounding 2 Live Crew began, sales of its records and singles have tripled. Some disc jockeys told me that the group never would have received this much attention had it not been singled out for censorship.
As it turns out, it was Luther Campbell who had the last laugh, because on Saturday afternoon, after just over 2 hours of deliberation, that 6-person jury in that Fort Lauderdale, Florida courtroom found Luther and his bandmates Mark Ross and Chris Wongwon not guilty of obscenity charges stemming from their club performance back in June. Of course, a key to the prosecution's case in this trial was proving that the crew's material had no artistic or political value, and that it was obscene. But jurors speaking to reporters inside the courtroom after the trial was concluded indicated they felt the material did have some artistic and political value, at least some, and that it was not obscene. One woman in the jury said that it was sort of like comedy. She said, after all, it is just words. Of course, this verdict stands in stark contrast to the conviction just 2.5 weeks ago of black record store owner Charles Freeman for selling the 2 Live Crew's album As Nasty as They Want to Be. And finally, despite all the troubles they've had down in Fort Lauderdale, Luther Campbell indicated at the end of the trial that he would like to have the 2 Live Crew play in Broward County again.
Their next album was titled Banned in the USA.
Banned in the USA is the latest single from 2 Live Crew, a rap group which has the distinction of having the first ever album in recorded history banned in some parts of this country. Their latest effort is more political than raunchy. Deborah Raff from Hot 97 says callers have been overwhelmingly against censorship of the group.
It's a real fear that it's a swing back to the 50s. I'd say that's central to the issue, where they used to talk about banning Elvis and Little Richard records. They never quite, got around to doing it. But
Right.
That's a deep fear that, all of a sudden they won't be able to go see Andrew Dice Clay in concert or some of their favorite comedians. I think it's a pervasive fear that where do they stop banning? Where do they draw the line?
This was my favorite project from them. Their title song, Banned in the USA, gave strong detail to the horrors they dealt with over the past 2 years, fighting obscenity charges and dodging jail time.
You've told me you want to hear the record. Now I want to hear your reaction to the words in this record. Here it is. It's called Banned in the USA on Hot 97.
Now let's talk about the beef with Death Row. Out of the blue, I remember Dr. Dre and Snoop rapping on F with Dre Day, dissing Luke. Now understand this, my nigga Dre can't be touched. Luke's bending over, so Luke's getting a buster. Musta thought it was sleazy. I thought it was a mark, cause I used to hang with Easy. Come on, you know the lyrics. Animosity made you speak what you spoke. Hey, yo, Dre, chip this nigga off, Loke. If it ain't another hoe that I got to fuck with, gap teeth in your mouth so my dick's gots to fit. With my nuts on your tonsils while you're on stage rapping at your whack ass concerts. And I'ma snatch your ass from the backside to show you how Death Row pull off that who ride. Now you might not understand me, cause I'ma rob you in Compton and blast you in Miami. I mean, come on, dog. He was going at Luke, bro. He was going straight at Luke.
I don't even know why Luke even started dissing Dr. Dre and Snoop in the first place. I don't even know why that happened. I don't even know why that happened. Knowing Luke, at one point in time, we were in St. Louis. We were on tour with NWA. And so for some strange reasons, the girls that we had at that time, like any other girl that would be around Easy and Dr. Dre, would end up in their room. So the girls spent the night, our dancers spent the night with Dr. Dre and them, and Luke left them. Basically, Luke left them, and I don't know, it's hard to say what's going on with Luke and how he's thinking, but I don't know where that came from. But I know that, on my side of the family, that they, and they were LA guys for real. They wasn't too much digging Luke. He had problems every time he come to California. As a matter of fact, if it wasn't for you, he wouldn't be leaving now. And boom, boom, boom. I guess Luke kind of caught wind of that.
And many in Miami and many in the industry knew that, Luke wasn't going to back down.
Me and Snoop, I don't want nobody to get mad. Me and Snoop, we cool. I met Dr. Dre one time. Easy and Q, them was my dudes. Again, going back to the, to that whole beef thing, when I talk about it, it's like the whole South rise up. When some dudes say something about a Southern guy. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? And especially, people on the street know the history. Exactly. They knew what I was doing in Atlanta, Miami, Charlotte, Fayetteville, South Carolina. They knew, okay, Unc is that guy. You know what I'm saying? And they, you know, the Lil Petey Pablos and everybody of the world and the Gips and all them, man. Okay, man, this man turning this thing up for us. You know, so guys on the street already know. You know, man. So then when the dudes came down here, it was an ugly sight. I think the whole South jumped on it.
Luke, by all accounts, rolled with some monsters from Miami. And it was only a matter of time before they run into each other.
Jack the Rapper, I talk about in the book was when we had the big fight with Snoop Dogg them in Death Row. Yeah. You know, when we had the little beef going on, and then they eventually came down to Jack the Rapper. It was downtown and had them grew big out of the Marriott out there by the airport. They got to be in this big thing. They had to go to the big hotel downtown, and unfortunately, I tried, you know, I talk about in the book, I tried to talk to Jack, his wife, not his wife, but daughter Jill, and say, look, you need to arrange a sit-down with me and Suge Knight, because if they're going to come down here, you know, there's so many people from Miami, I got so much love in Atlanta, it's going to be an ugly sight. Yeah. You know, because we got this beef, and they saying this about me, and I'm saying this about them, it's going to get crazy. And they were like, oh, we ain't got to worry about that, ain't nobody going to do nothing. And then before you know it, everybody was stabbed up, cut up, everything in the world was thrown out the rooms, all down. It was crazy. It was a melee.
Luke ended up releasing a response to F with Dre Day with his own diss titled Cowards in Compton.
Came out with the Cowards in Compton shit, but that shit was that was meaningless because Dr. Dre and Ice Cube and them at that time, they were cool. I used to always be in their room with them. You know, I used to always be hanging out with NWA. You know, they was cool. You know, we were on tour together. So I don't know where Luke came up with that shit from. As you know, just like I don't know where he come up with all this other shit. That just started, I guess, because they were big at the time, and Luke was jealous, and he wanted to get some clout off of them.
I really like that record. I think it's one of the most underrated rap disses in hip hop history. Luke's camp and Death Row did eventually bump into each other, and by most accounts, things didn't go too well for Death Row's camp.
The West came to the South. They had beef with Luke Skywalker and the Miami boys. Luke came to the hood, got Atlanta and Miami folk, and we cleared house. It was a beef. If you go back and listen to the records, it was a beef going on between Death Row and Luke Skywalker back then. I remember the first time they saw each other was in Atlanta, downtown Atlanta. And they got to understand, man, the South, boy, the South don't play. The South pulls no punches. We scared of nothing. We are not scared of the boogeyman. And they learned their lesson that you can't just come to this region and just do what you want to do. You had to respect it. And Luke, during them times, was the king of the South, period. If you came to Atlanta, you came to Miami, you had to come see Luke.
We went to the Freaknik, and I think Dre was on house arrest. Everybody was like, Snoop was at something, and we went over there, and it was like 200-300 niggas, and they just that party up, man. I mean,
was that Jack the Rapper or Freaknik?
That was, I don't remember if it was Jack the Rapper or Freaknik. I know it was in Atlanta.
Oh yeah, that must have been Jack the Rapper, because that was the last. JT Money was telling us that was the last Jack the Rapper after that shit went down.
And you know, I'm just young. I'm walking through. I don't know what the fuck going on. So it's like everybody suiting up. I'm like, okay, I got on all this Luke shit. So we walking through. We think we just going the fuck around. Niggas start pulling out golf clubs, stabbing my, turning tables over. Man, that shit got real quick. It wasn't a Suge at that point. Niggas ain't really know who the Suge was or really feel Suge as a powerhouse behind. It was more so like he was gunning for Dre. He was looking for Dre, you know. But Dre had slapped Miss D, I believe, at that time, so he couldn't make it. You follow me? So I don't believe nobody went, but I guess somebody was like, it was because they were supposed to be at this party, and it just turned that out, man. Luke turned that out, man. Like, we were running downstairs, people got stabbed, and he had on a white shirt, I remember. So it was me, him, probably two people and one bodyguard, and we just walking down the street, and he got blood on his shirt, and the girl's like, "Oh, that's Luke. Can I take a picture?" And he's like, "Yeah, come take a picture with me," And so we didn't flip they shit over. We trying to get cabs or somebody to take us, to get us the fuck out of that. Man, that shit was crazy, man.
Radio Shouty.
And the crazy part of Jack the Rapper I talk about in the book was when we had the big fight with Snoop Dogg them in Death Row.
Yeah.
You know, when we had the little beef going on, and then they eventually came down to Jack the Rapper. It was downtown and had them grew big out of the Marriott out there by the airport. They got to be in this big thing. They had to go to the big hotel downtown, and unfortunately, I tried, you know, I talk about in the book, I tried to talk to Jack and his wife, not his wife, but daughter Jill, and say, look, you need to arrange a sit down with me and Suge Knight, because if they're going to come down here, you know, there's so many people from Miami, I got so much love in Atlanta, it's going to be an ugly sight. Yeah. You know, because we got this beef, and they saying this about me, and I'm saying this about them, it's going to get crazy. And they were like, oh, we ain't got to worry about that, ain't nobody going to do nothing. And then before you know it, everybody was stabbed up, cut up, everything in the world was thrown out the rooms, all down. It was crazy. It was a melee. You know, we talk about all that in the book.
I mean, how did you feel when you really had to get violent to deal with your beef back then, though? Because on top of that, you're dealing with the hate coming from all over the place. Yeah. And I know it had to breed a lot of anger. You see what I'm saying? So by the time folks do come around with that nonsense, being from the South, you know, we got the hospitality, but we are also sit your ass down.
Yeah, we'll sit you down.
You see what I'm saying?
We'll touch you up and sit you down. You know, and that was the whole thing. I mean, you know, me and Snoop, you know, I don't want nobody to get me and Snoop, we cool. I met Dr. Dre one time. Easy and Cube. Them was my dudes. You know, and like, you know, they got the movie out. I encourage everybody go see the movie, because that's what it's all about. They got their family and again going back to the, you know, to that whole beef thing. You know, when I talk about it, it's like the whole South rise up. When some dudes say something about a Southern guy. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? And especially, you know, people on the street know the history. Exactly. They knew what I was doing in Atlanta, Miami, you know, Charlotte, Fayetteville, South Carolina. They knew, okay, Unc is that guy. You know what I'm saying? And they, you know, the Lil Petey Pablos and everybody of the world and the Gips and all them, man. Okay, man, this man turning this thing up for us. You know, so guys on the street already know. Hold on, man. So then when the dudes came down here, it was an ugly sight. I think the whole South jumped on them. You know, they were catching planes at the late night trying to get up out of this place here. But we ended up eventually squashing it because, you know, it was like, okay, you know, hey, you know, Suge, I'm not one of them guys who you roughhouse.
Thank you again to 2 Live Crew for their many battles they fought so that today in 2025, Sexy Red is able to tell us the color of her private parts. Nah, but seriously, they were pioneers of free speech in the music industry, and I really hope Hollywood is working on a movie of their life story. I'll be the first to buy a ticket. And RIP to Brother Marquise. 58 is far too young to die. I'm not sure how he passed, but I'm going to take this time to ask y'all to take care of your bodies. We should not be dying at 58. That is far too young. Take care of yourself. Drink water. Y'all fools be out there drinking juices, beers, Hennessy, vodka, tequila, everything but water. Pick up some good water and drink it. Look, I'm an old man, so this is old man Dusty talking here. But I'm telling you guys, man, the last thing you want to do is die at 58. And I know some of you right now are 19, 20, 21, 22. 58 seems like moons away. But it will be here before you know it. And when you get closer to 58, you're not going to want to die at 58, dude. So just, look, I'm not the most healthiest person. I do work out. You know, I do smoke weed. I do, you know, drink and things like that. But I do take care of my body, and I hope you guys do as well. I don't want to hear about anybody dying at 58, especially a talented brother like Brother Marquise. And I'm going to ask you guys before I head out to please hit that like button. If you haven't already, please smash that like button. I really need you to hit that like button. It's so important to me that you hit that like button, because that helps get my name out there. That helps get the algorithm to know who the heck I am. And that helps get my videos suggested to the masses. I'm growing every month. I'm growing 500, 600, 700 subscribers every month. And I'm so happy about that. And I'm fine with that. Just keep spreading the word about Dusty Vision TV. And if you like this particular show that you're listening to right now, I do it every Saturday at 8 p.m. live, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 p.m. Eastern. If you would like to check in with me, I would really, really appreciate it. Every Saturday, right here on Dusty Vision TV at 8 p.m. Pacific. We go live, baby. I also do other shows on my channel that I think you would be interested in. I do a show every Sunday where I discuss prison life with my friend who's currently doing life in prison for a very bad thing he did when he was a young man, and now he is spending the rest of his life in prison for it. We talk about the horrors of prison to hope that these kids don't go down that same route. I'm also going to ask you to subscribe to my second channel. If you're tuned into this, you probably love hip-hop, and you would love my second channel because it's more hip-hop based. Every day I post something about hip-hop on my second channel, Dusty Vision Radio, right here on YouTube. Dusty Vision Radio. Please subscribe to Dusty Vision Radio on YouTube. I'm almost at 3,000 subscribers, trying to get that bad boy monetized by the end of this year. And I'm giving you different content there than I am on this channel. So please do subscribe to Dusty Vision Radio right here on YouTube. That's my second channel. Also, I'm going to ask you guys to download the Rumble app. R-U-M-B-L-E. R-U-M-B-L-E. The Rumble app. Download it. Go to your Apple store. Go to your Google store and download the Rumble app onto your phone and subscribe to Dusty Vision TV. That's all one word. Dusty Vision TV. As you notice in the show, I kind of have to be careful with what I say. I can't really say many bad words. I censor myself a lot. Rumble is a more uncensored version of YouTube, I guess you would call it. It's a more uncensored platform, and my show is more uncensored over there. So I do ask you guys to go over to Rumble and subscribe to Dusty Vision TV, all one word. You can also find me on Instagram, Dusty Vision TV, and you could find me on Facebook, Dusty Vision TV. Thank you all. Be safe out there, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.